All right, thank you.
Dan, can I ask, just because I ran out, are we in public comment right
Yes,
now?
yes,
Okay.
kind of got away from it.
Is there any way that they can come up and?
Okay, okay.
It just makes it a little easier to.
Okay, all right. Any other public comments before we move on to the next agenda item?
Anyone? Well, let's see. Be respectful. It'd be nice if the board was as respectful to the customers as the customers are to the board. I don't even know why we have a public comment. People make the time to attend a movie, or a meeting, like a movie. They take the time to attend, they prepare something to speak, maybe this is off the cuff right now. And if you go back through all the agendas since the Camden Company has taken over, it says things like 2 public people spoke, 4 public people commented, with not a word of what they had to say. So it's like you speak into this mic and you're so concerned that it's recorded and that it's going to do something, when in actuality, as soon as the words leave the person's mouth, they disappear and they're never thought of again. And because you don't do an adequate minute reporting of what the person says, it doesn't have to be word for word, it could just be a basic description of what they were complaining or complimenting. Because the one thing I noticed when I was going through it, the only thing that's in public comment are compliments to the board and the district. Never when a customer says, this isn't right, which Wes has done a number of times. And that was a question I think Ruth or someone said, where does that go when complaints are made here? There's not even a documentation of them being made because you don't put it in the minutes. I'd like to see a brief synopsis of what any customer has to say. Speaking of customers, we've been promised now 3 or 4 times for the results of the customer survey. I see it's not on the agenda again. What happened?
4 months ago.
4 months ago?
Or 3 months.
Last month you said it was going to be...
No, it was delivered to the board 3 months ago.
It's gonna go on, the comment was going on the website.
Oh, website.
The new website, and that will...
Okay, well, I won't ask any questions about it because I've been real curious about that. Another thing, April 18th, I put in a request for information. I found out that Mr. Campa had indeed taken an oath of office up for another community services district, and I requested information whether he had here or not, and at that time it was no. But when he did do it, it would be available. So I guess I can't ask the question if it's available. But I'd just like to know why we weren't deserving of an oath of office and another CSD was. Let's see, I guess that's about it for right now. It all goes around the customers, but public comment, something has to be done about that, because I don't see any reason to have it if you're not going to take it seriously.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is I put together just a very brief summary to kind of reflect. We asked why we went for wells. It was questioned at our last meeting of why we made the decisions we made. And I kind of summarize it in a very short summary. When we started in October of 2014, I'm going to kind of top off the top of my head here, we were looking at a short period of time before we would run out of water in Lake McClure. That's the projections we had at the time. And I put in here April, May timeframe. Later on in the year, we got some rain, the lake came up, we continued to be able to pump. We got an extension from MID. That's, they gave us a variance to go pump below minimum pool. We have a very, I'll say, precise or concise contract that if the lake level goes below 115,000 acre feet, basically they cut off their customers. We got that. We got a variance for that. That's why we were able to continue to pump all of last year from the lake. We looked around and we were looking to say, where are we going to get water to make sure that this community was able to sustain water? We looked at the original wells that were put in by Boise Cascade. Their yield or production or gallons per minute did not meet the demands of the system. They were in locations that were not conducive to hook up to the distribution system. We looked at privately owned wells along Bonds Flat Road. Okay, the challenges there we had was getting the water into the system. We could have gone under Bonds Flat Road right up there at Bonds Flat and 132 and tried to backfeed the system, but we could have only backfed part of the system because of the way it's designed. We asked Don Pedro, could we get water out of there? Move our barge over to Don Pedro, bring up a line, hook up to Bond's Flat and go that way. Again, we ran into challenges, one, with backfeeding the entire system, treating of the water, we'd have to put in a temporary treatment class, plus politically, they weren't gonna allow it. Some individuals brought up the deep water intake down, putting a deep water intake at the dam at Lake McClure. That was about a $6 to $8 million project, but that still would have, you would still had to operate under our same existing contract. So we pursued the avenue of wells, going down that road to see if we could find wells within this community that would stay in water supply for the community. The community did an excellent job in conservation, and today we can barely meet our summertime peak demand with the wells we have in place today. The options were to try to get grants. There was some skepticism on would we get grants. With Pete's direction and aggressiveness, he got the state controllers, not the controllers, but the emergency people involved, and they were helping us guide this thing. So this community did receive grants. Yes, the wells cost about $2 million, and we're spending, I'm gonna say, 16 cents on the dollar based on the projections. The money hasn't all come in, that can change. But we got a really, really good deal, and those wells supplied water to this community for the first 4 months of this year. Trucking water was another option, $1.2 to $1.5 million per month. Per month. If you look at the numbers, all of you guys look at the budget numbers, our budget is about 1.5 to 1.7 million per year. So we would have gone down faster than the Titanic. We don't even know if we could have got the water out of McClure because of the contract. So there was some questions. I just wanted to kind of roll back the hands of time and say why the board made the decisions they did to put wells in place to supply water. Is it a long-term solution? Maybe, maybe not, but it got us through what we needed to do for the first 4 months of this year without having any water. Now, if we have a problem at our wells out of McClure, we can switch over and continue to feed the system. If we have a major leak in that line, we can switch over and feed the system to ensure that the system stays pressurized and you have water. So that's kind of just a little bit of reflection on back of time to say, where did we start, why did we do what we did, and where we're at today. So I just want to give that little bit of history to you guys to try to help say why we did what we did. Was it hard decisions? One of the board members said no matter what we do, it's going to be wrong. And you know, we could be, no matter what we were going to do, it's going to be wrong. We tried to do the right thing for the community. We're elected to represent you and try to do the best possible things, and that's what we're trying to do. So I hope that helps, I'll say, jog your memories of what kind of conditions we were in a year and a half ago and where we're at today. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Pete for his manager's report.
Is there a
Comment.
comment
Sure.
for your comments?
Sure. Go ahead, Wes.
I just got a quick one. On the, you mentioned the water, having the emergency water, be able to switch it back and forth between the well and the other. But if I understand right, and I think we even have a committee going on right now, where we're trying to study whether the water is really an emergency water or whether it should be an additional source of water. And if it's an additional source of water and we give it to all the other folks that are hanging out there, such as you've been promoting, so don't grinch at me.
No, I'm not. I'm just trying to make sure I understand.
Okay, no, I'm just saying, how can you say we're gonna have the water if we give them the water all away?
Giving it to.
I don't know, ask him, he's the one
I
that's
can't find
wanting,
anybody.
he's the one that's wanting to give it away.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Well,
Anybody else?
yeah, I'll follow up on what Wes was saying. I mean, there were 6 or 7 subdivisions that wanted water. Some are annexed, some are not. Some have pipes, some don't. Some pay money, some don't. It's all over the place. And it's all over the place because the original license, 11395, wasn't followed. And it clearly was done intentionally. If you go back and you look at the records in the 1980s, you heard discussions in this room, and people arguing, is it in or is it out? Wes Snyder said it's in, he went out there and did it, and it was in. And it was out. And it went on and on and on like that. And Danny, you're being very disingenuous when you talk about for the community. Your definition of community is a far cry of what mine is. My community are the people that are entitled to the Merced River water. They're the people that bought the property with all the rules and the regulations.